What's up guys, welcome to your 11th 3D Studio Max tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to be talking about modifiers. Now what a modifier does is it pretty much distorts an object in some way, and you can only apply these to editable objects. So I already made this tube right here, and I right clicked it and I pressed convert to editable mesh, and I didn't show that on my tutorial because when I right click my screen recorder messes up. So you should know how to do this from last tutorial. Just make any object you want, it doesn't even have to be a tube, and convert it to an editable object. And now once you do that, you're ready to begin. So like I said, a modifier is used to distort an object. So go ahead and select the object you just created, and when you do, you should get white brackets around it, and now you should have the name of that object right here in your modifier list right here. And again, I'm in the modify panel right there. So this modifier list is all the modifiers you can apply to your object. To select one, just go ahead and take your list, scroll down and press something like bend. And now you can see this orange bracket surrounds your object, and this means that a modifier is applied to it. So the parameters of your modifier automatically pop up in your rollouts whenever you apply it to. And here's another neat little trick. If you want to apply a modifier to several objects at once, all you have to do is select several objects at once and select a modifier, and that'll apply them all to the objects at once. So you don't have to apply a modifier to this tube, then apply it to another tube, and apply it to another tube. You can just have 3 tubes selected, apply a modifier, and it'll apply it to all 3. So anyways, once you apply a modifier or select it from the list, your parameters for that modifier will pop up. So then you can go ahead and change that modifier, and these parameters are different for every modifier. They're modifier specific. So this bend lets you choose the angle and also the distance. So I'm going to leave that like, I don't know, might as well leave it like that for the bend. And you don't have to just apply one modifier to an object. You can apply as many modifiers as you want actually. So I'm going to go ahead and, with this object still selected, go in my drop down list and pick another one. What's a good noticeable one? Lattice right here. This pretty much means weaved. So now you get this nice little weave pattern, and I'm gonna, in my parameters, I'm gonna drop the radius down a little bit. There we go. So now you can see that we have this new object that was bent and latticed, whatever the heck that means, you know. But hey, we're not here to discuss what it means, we're just here discussing modifiers and how to use them. So each of these modifiers, all of these does a different really weird thing, and we're going to be using these in the future, but right now I just want to show you guys how to use modifiers, and I picked the probably 2 most noticeable ones we got. So again, anytime you want to apply a modifier, just use it from the drop down list, and also change the parameters right here when they pop up. Now another thing that you're going to take note of is these have 2 little light bulbs next to it's called the stack. In the stack you have each of your modifiers and 2 little light bulbs next to them. What a light bulb means is toggle the modifier on and off. So if you click it off, then it stops bending. If you click this one off, the lattice disappears. So if you only want to see a few of your modifiers, just click them off. And you should probably know this from like After Effects or like Photoshop or something, but anyways, that's what it does. So anytime you want to get rid of a modifier, here's what you do. Say you just pick the one you want to get rid of, like lattice. I don't really like that weave, so I want to get rid of it. You just highlight it by clicking on it, and then click this little remove modifier from the stack. And if you're wondering what the stack is, it's this box right here. So that's what the stack is. So that is how you remove modifiers. So I'm gonna add that modifier again, just because I want to show you something else. Add lattice and move this radius. That radius is kind of annoying. And there we go. You don't have to do that. But the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is what collapsing an object or collapsing the modifiers mean. Anytime you work with your modifiers and you got them just how you want them, and you're like, alright, look at that, Oh, that is the perfect animation right there. I want to keep it just like that. What you can do is collapse your modifiers, and this will permanently apply them to the object. So what you need to do is in your editable mesh, or whatever you applied it to, and probably want to do that, right click and pick collapse all, and now you're going to get this little warning. Just click yes, and now look at your editable mesh. In your modifier list you have no modifiers. That's because the modifiers became part of the object and you can't edit them anymore. So again, anytime you want to permanently set your modifiers on that object and you know you're not going to be editing them anymore, what you have to do is right click the mesh and collapse all, and that will permanently apply them to your object or model. So that's all I got for you for this tutorial. Hopefully you learned what modifiers are and how they can distort your object, and also why they are useful. So we're going to be using these in the next couple tutorials, but for now I just want to show you guys how to use them in the basic run through of them. So thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next tutorial. What's up guys, welcome to your 12th 3DsMax tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to create 2D shapes. Now you're probably wondering why we're creating 2D shapes instead of 3D shapes, because this is a way with creating 2D shapes. You can turn a 2D shape into a 3D shape really easy. But first we need to know the ins and outs of 2D. And also when you're working with like flat surfaces like a wall or something, then you probably want to put some 2D images on that. But for now, we're going to learn how to create shapes, and later we're going to learn how to create them into 3D objects. And this is a pretty advanced way of doing it, so pay attention. So to create standard shapes, go to your create palette right here, and instead of geometry, go to shapes. And what this allows you to do is to create all different kinds of shapes. Now you probably already know the basics like circle, donut, all of these. The only probably one you don't know is this n-gon. And this is pretty much a polygon with any number of sides you want on it. So go ahead and click n-gon, and with the sides click 8 to turn it to an octagon. Now you can go ahead and create a shape just by clicking and dragging, just like we did before. And I'm actually going to go to my top view so it's easier to see, and I'm going to turn off my grid so it's probably a lot easier to see now. So again, anytime you want to create a shape, just go click on the shape and drag. Now another point is, if I select this and delete it, is whenever you're creating a shape you get this little checkbox that either says start new shape or don't start new shape. Whenever this is checked, anytime you create a shape, you can see that they're different colors, and I can modify these differently and they don't affect each other. But let me go ahead and select all of these and delete them. And now when you click like something like circle and click don't start new shape or uncheck that, what it does is it turns it into all one shape. So now you can see that they're all the same color when created. So if I click away from that, you can see that this is all entirely one shape. I never started a new shape. So now I can edit all that as a whole by either just moving it like this or doing whatever I want to it. So aside from that, let's go ahead and delete this and move on. Aside from that, what we can do is the probably only other shape you're going to have confusion on is this line right here. This line is pretty much like the pen tool in Photoshop. You go ahead and click a point and then click another point to create a line, and you can keep clicking to create more and more lines. The thing is, whenever you click and drag, it creates a round Bezier point. So click and drag creates a round point, and if you go back to your beginning and click, it says close the spline. Go ahead and click yes, and you got yourself an entire shape. So that's the basics of using the line tool. Let me go ahead and delete that. Now in order to make these shapes a spline, we need to convert them to an editable spline. So I'm going to go ahead and make, what should I make? How about a star? And right there, and I'm also going to make a circle right here. And I'm going to pause this while I remember, I can't right click on my computer or my screen recorder will mess up. I'm going to pause these, right click these, and convert them to an editable spline. And you should know how to do that from the last tutorial. So I'll see you in a second. Alright guys, now I converted the star and the circle to an editable spline. So now that we have two editable splines instead of just regular shapes, I can go ahead and teach you guys something about these. Now the first thing I want to point out is if I try to render these items, go ahead and I'll click away and hit F. Okay, well evidently when I hit F9 on my keyboard it stops my screen recorder, so I do that. But anyways, what I want to show you is if you try to render these out, you're not going to be able to render it unless you go to rendering right here and enable in renderer right there. So click that. I can't show you what it does, so I guess you're just gonna have to see for yourself. If I try to show you, my screen recorder will shut off, so sucks for you. So now another thing I want to talk about is how to create a new line. Most of the stuff we're going to be working with in shapes is under this geometry. So let's go ahead and select a subject object of vertex by clicking your editable spline and vertex, and anytime you create a new line, it's going to add to that same shape, just like that. So that's how you can add to your shape when you're in editable splines, by creating a new line. Another cool thing you can do is break a point to create two separate endpoints. So go ahead and let me just select the endpoint right now. You can see that this is one endpoint that just moves along. If you keep that vertex selected and click break, what it does is break it apart. So now you can see if I select it like that and break it, press the break button, it now is broken into two separate endpoints. So again, anytime you want to take a connecting vertex and break it into two endpoints, select it and hit break in your geometry, and that'll break it into two endpoints. Now the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is this attach button right here. What this does is take one spline and attach it to another one. So let's go ahead and select this entire spline right here, or this entire object, and you see the white brackets around it right there, and we want to attach the circle to it so it's all one shape. Well, in order to do that, while this is selected, go ahead and click attach, and now when you hover over your circle, you see this weird goofy crop circle looking thing. Just go ahead and click that, and now this entire circle was attached to this shape. So again, in order to attach an object to another spline, just go ahead and click attach with the object selected, and then click the object you want to attach it to. So that's that for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, probably going to be going over either the rest of these or how to change these 2D objects into 3D. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.